Dear students of class 6, welcome to my class. Today I shall discuss a new topic. The name of the topic is punctuation and chapter number is 21. Chapter number is 21. So in this class we will learn when and where to use. We will learn in this class. We shall learn when and where to use punctuation. The most important and commonly used punctuation marks are full stop, comma, semicolon, colon, dash, question mark, brackets, quotation mark, apostrophe, exclamation. So we should know what is punctuation. We should know, or you should know what is punctuation. Special symbols that you add to writing to separate phrases and sentence. So punctuation is special symbols that you add to writing to separate phrases and sentences. Punctuation marks are in other words, we can say like this: punctuation marks are the traffic signals of language that tell us to slow down, notice this, take a detour, and stop. I hope you have understood what is punctuation. Why do we use punctuation? We use punctuation to separate one sentence from another, or one part of a sentence from another part. So today, now I shall discuss when and where to use punctuation. So let me begin with full stop. So we will learn when and where to use full stop. Full full stop, full stop. Full stop. We will learn when and where to use full stop. So what is full stop? It represents the longest pause. If you see your book, then you can see we use full stop to represent the longest pause. So when and where to use full stop? It is used at the end of assertive or imperative sentence, or you can say at the end of a complete sentence. To mark the end of a complete sentence, we use full stop. For example, he is playing cricket. cricket, cricket. He is playing cricket. So it is a complete sentence, and as I said you earlier, we use full stop at the end of a complete sentence. At the end of a complete sentence, we use full stop. Or you can say at the end of assertive sentence or imperative. Imperative is where we get order, request, command. For example, shut the door. Shut the door. Shut the door. DOOR. It is an imperative sentence. So at the end of a complete sentence, we have to use full stop. Or at the end of assertive or at the end of imperative, we have to use full stop. Then the next is we have to use full stop after abbreviations and initials. After abbreviation or initial, we have to use full stop. For example, we have to use full stop after abbreviation and initial. After abbreviations or initials, so we have to use full stop. Example, H HS is after we are using after we have to use after abbreviations or initial. HS is higher, HIGHER higher, secondary. S secondary, DARY. So after abbreviations and initials we have to use what? Full stop. Another is DR. DR, we can say doctor, 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 DOCTOR. So we have to use full stop after abbreviations and initials. Now I have completed full stop. Now the next is comma. When and where to use comma. You will learn when and where to use comma. COMMA, comma. You will learn when and where to use comma. A comma represents a short pause. A comma represents a short pause, then full stop. So when and where to use comma. To separate a series of words in a sentence. For example, we bought, BOUGHT, we bought apples, APPLES, apples. Grapes, 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 comma, bananas, 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 and oranges, 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 and oranges. So we bought apples, grapes, bananas, and oranges. So we have to use comma to separate a series of words in a sentence. A series of words to separate a series of words. So these are series of words. Grapes. So we have to use comma. And remember that if we find and, we are not to use comma before and. We are not to use comma here. Remember this. So we have to use comma to separate a series of words in a sentence. So I hope you have understood this. The next is to mark of a direct quotation. We have to use comma. We have to use comma to mark of a direct quotation. For example, he she said I know him. So we have to use comma to mark of a direct quotation. We have to use comma, and quotation is when we enclose the exact word of a speaker is quotation. So we have to use comma to mark of a direct quotation. So I hope you have understood this. The next is To separate any pairs of words connected by and or. To separate any pairs of words connected by and or. For example, the pencil and the paper, P-A-P, the pencil and the paper, and the P-A-P-E-R, paper, the pencil and the paper, the bag and the books, B-O-O-K-S, books, and the books were placed nicely, N-I-C-E, nicely, were placed nicely on the table, T-A-B-L-E, table, were placed. The pencil and the paper, the pencil and the paper, the bag and the books were placed nicely on the table. So as I said you, to separate any pairs of words, these two are pairs of words connected by and, or sometimes it will be there will in place of and we will get or, in place of and we will get or. So to separate any pairs of words, any pairs of word connected by and, we have to use comma. These are the pairs of word, we have to use comma. Books were placed nicely on the table. The pencil and the paper, the bag and the books were placed nicely on the table. So remember this. I hope you have understood this. If we get pair of words, pencil and paper, pair of words connected by and, we have to use comma. Remember this. The next is to separate the adjuncts. To separate the adjuncts, we have to use comma. Adjunct is extra information or phrases added in a sentence. Extra information or phrases we get in a sentence. So to separate the adjunct, we have to use what? We have to use comma. For example, Milton, the great English poet, L-I, English poet, the great, E-N-G-L-I, English poet, P-O-E-T, poet, was a blind man. B-L-I-N-D, blind man. M-A-N, blind man. Milton the great English poet was a blind man. As I said you, that to separate the adjuncts, we have to use comma. And I said the adjunct is what? It is extra information given in a sentence. Extra information given in a sentence is what? ad- adjunct. So remember this. So this is the extra information. So as I said earlier, if we find any extra information in a sentence, then we have to use comma, we have to use comma. I could have written like this: Milton was a blind man. Milton was a blind man, but the great English poet, this is what? Extra information. So we have to put comma. So we have to put comma. Remember this. Another sentence, if I say, if I write, for example, if we played football in our school garden, we played football in our school garden on Wednesday. I could say like this, or I can say like this. I can say like this: we played football on Wednesday. But in our school garden, so I have added extra information. So after we played football, I'll put a comma. Then in our school, in our school garden, after this again we will give comma. So on Wednesday. So remember this. So I hope you have understood when and where to use comma, when and where to use comma. Then the next is question mark. Then the next is question mark. So if we find extra information in a sentence or adjunct in a sentence, then what we have to put comma, we have to put comma. So now the next is question mark. Question, question mark, or again question. Question. Next is question. So you used at the end of a question, used at the end of a question, or you can write question mark, used at the end of a question. For example, how are you? How are you? We know it's a question. So at the end of a question, how are you? We have to put question mark. We have to put question mark. What are you doing? What are you? What are you doing? DOING, doing. So at the end of, if it is a question, the sentence is question, then we have to use question mark at the end of it. Then we have to use question mark at the end of it. Hope you have understood when and where to use question mark. When and where to use question mark. The next is exclamation. Exclamation. M-A-T-T-I-O-N. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. So we use exclamation mark to show joy, surprise or shock. To show joy, surprise or shock. We use exclamation to show joy, surprise or shock. Like for example, bravo, B-R-A-B-O, bravo. Hurrah, H-U-R-R-A-H, hurrah. Oh my God, oh. So I hope, so when and where to use exclamation mark, we use exclamation mark to show joy, surprise or shock. Oh my God. So to show surprise, joy, shock, etc., we use exclamation mark. Remember this. And remember the symbol also. It is very important. So I hope you have understood this. Now the next is when and where to use semicolon. When and where to use semicolon. Semicolon. When and where to use semicolon. When and where to use. When and where to use semicolon. So what is semicolon? We use it to indicate a longer pause than a comma. We use semicolon to indicate a longer pause than a comma. So when and where to use semicolon? To separate the clauses of a compound sentence. To separate the clauses of a compound sentence. And what is compound sentence? A sentence that has at least two independent clauses. So when and where to use semicolon? To separate clauses of a compound sentence if they contain comma. If they contain comma, to separate the clauses of compound sentence, we have to know what is compound sentence. Compound sentence, a sentence that has at least two independent clauses. So what is clause? A group of words that contains both a subject and a verb. Both a subject and a verb. It is what? Clause. So, and what is compound sentence? A sentence that has at least two independent clauses. To separate the clauses of a compound sentence, if the condition is there, if they contain comma. If they contain comma, what we have to? For example, our teacher, T-E-A-C-H, our teacher was a simple S-I-M-P-L-E, simple. Our teacher was a simple, modest, M-O-D-E-S-T, modest, unassuming, U-N-N-A-S-S, U-M-I-N-G, unassuming person, P-E-R-S-O-N. Our teacher was a simple, modest, unassuming person, unassuming person, but we all respected him. But we all respected, R-E-S-P-E, respected him. But we all respected him. So our teacher was a simple, modest, unassuming person, but we all respected him. I said you we are to use semicolon to separate clauses of a compound sentence. To separate clauses of a compound sentence, we are to use colon. Condition is if they contain comma. If they contain comma. So to separate the clauses of a compound sentence if they contain comma. And compound sentences are connected, that means coordinated, are connected by coordinating conjunction. Are connected, compound sentences are connected by coordinating conjunction. So it connects the clauses. So to separate the clauses of a compound sentence if they contains comma. If they contains comma, so comma is there. So we have used what? Semicolon. We have used semicolon. So I hope you have understood this. I hope you have understood this. The next is to separate a series of loosely connected clauses. To separate a series of loosely connected clauses, we have to use what? We have to use semicolon. We have to use semicolon. For example, and please open your book so that it will be easy for you to understand quickly. To separate a series of loosely connected clauses, we use what? We use semicolon. For example, reading, reading. Reading makes a full man. Full. Reading makes a full man. Then semicolon. Speaking a ready man. Speaking, S-P-E-A-K-I-N-G. Speaking, A-R-E-A-D-Y, ready man, M-A-N, a ready man. Then semicolon. Writing an exact man, W-R-I-T-I-N-G, writing an exact, E-X-A-C-T, exact man, M-A-N, man. So we have to use what? Semicolon. We have to use semicolon to separate a series of loosely connected clauses. We have to use what? Semicolon. We have to use semicolon. A series of, you can see a series of loosely connected clauses are there. So to separate them, we use what? Semicolon. To separate, we use what? Semicolon. To separate loosely connected clauses, we use what? Semicolon. We use semicolon. I hope you have understood where and when to use semicolon. Then the next is colon. Then the next is colon. Then the next is colon. C-O-L-O-N, colon. When and where to use colon. Colon is used to indicate a longer pause. Colon is used to indicate a longer pause than a semicolon, but a shorter pause than a full stop. But a shorter pause than full stop. Colon is used to indicate a longer pause than semicolon, but a shorter pause than full stop. So when and where we have to use colon. Before examples, enumerations, before examples and enumerations, we have to use colon. For example, then what is enumeration? The action of mentioning a number of things one by one. Enumeration is the action of mentioning a number of things one by one. So you have to use colon before examples and what? Before examples and enumeration. For example, some of the important some of the important cities, cities, cities of some of the important cities of India are Delhi, 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 Kolkata, Pune, and Chennai, Chennai. So as I said, we use colon before examples and enumerations. So the example you can see some of the important cities of India are. So before what? Like this, before this Delhi, Kolkata, Pune and Chennai, I have used what? If I want to say a list of things, if I want to write a list of things, we have to use what? We have to use colon. So the next is to introduce a quotation. To introduce a quotation, we have to use what? We have to use colon. We have to use to introduce a quotation, we have to use what? Colon. We all know, K-N-O-W, we all know the proverb, B-E-R-B, we all know the proverb. We all know the proverb, P-R-O-V-E-B-E-R-B, we all know the proverb. Then we all know the proverb, honesty, H-O-N-E-S, honesty is the best policy. Honesty is the best policy, P-O-L-I-C-Y. Honesty is the best policy. Honesty is the. So we have to use quotation. We have to use what? We have to use colon. We have to use colon. We have to use what? Colon. To introduce the quotation, we have to use colon. And most of the time, a dash is used. A dash is also used like this to introduce a quotation like this. So I hope you have understood this. The next is inverted commas or quotation mark. Inverted commas or quotation mark. Inverted commas, C-O-M-M-A-S, inverted commas. Inverted commas or quotation mark we use to enclose the exact word, the exact words of a speaker, we use what? Quotation mark or inverted commas. For example, Ram said, I am eating, I am eating rice, R-I-C-E, rice. I am eating rice. So what we will do to enclose the exact words of a speaker, we have to use what? Quotation. We have to use inverted commas or quotation to enclose the exact words of a speaker, quotation. So this is the exact words of a speaker. I hope you have understood this. The next is apostrophe. T-R-O-P-H-E, apostrophe. A-P-O-S-T-R-O-P-H-E, apostrophe. So when and where to use apostrophe? To show possession. To show possession, we have to use what? Apostrophe. We have to use apostrophe to show possession. So, for example, so when and where to use apostrophe? Number one is to show possession. Peter's dog is playing. P-L-A-Y-I-N-G. Peter's dog is playing. So to show possession, that is ownership. You can say ownership. To show possession or ownership, we use what? Apostrophe S. So Peter's dog, that means the owner of the dog is Peter. So Peter's dog is playing. So there are other rules also when and where to use apostrophe. So if singular noun, then we have to use apostrophe before S. We have to use apostrophe before S. Remember this. For singular noun, we have to use what? Apostrophe before S. If the noun is plural, then we have to use apostrophe after S. We have to use apostrophe after S. For example, M-A-N-G-O-E-S, mangoes. So what we have to use apostrophe after S. For example, the mangoes, apostrophe after S, taste was amazing. And remember this, not all plural nouns end with S. Not all plural nouns end with S. For example, oxen, it does not end with S. And children also. So C-H-I-L-D-R-E-N. We cannot tell 5 children, 6 children. So children. So what we will do, if it is plural and it does not end with S, then what we will do? We have to use like this. We have to use apostrophe before S. we are to use apostrophe before s. For example, my children's toy are expensive. My children's toy are expensive. So I hope you have understood where and when and where to use apostrophe. The next is bracket. Where and when to use bracket. BRACKETS, brackets. So brackets. When and where to use brackets. So to mark of the words used in any explanation. For example, I am going to Delhi. I am going to Delhi to buy clothes. CLOTHES. To buy clothes. I am going to Delhi to buy clothes. So we are to when and where to use brackets. To mark of the words used in any explanation, we are to use what? Bracket. I am going to Delhi. So to explain why I am going to Delhi, I have what I have done. I have written in bracket to buy clothes. I am going to Delhi to buy clothes. So I hope you have understood when and where to use brackets. Now the next is when and where to use capital letters. For example, MS Dhoni, for brackets, when and where to use bracket. MS Dhoni is retiring from cricket. After MS Dhoni we can write the captain of Indian cricket team. To elaborate, we use what? Brackets. Then when and the next is when and where to use capital letter. Use of capitals. So to start a sentence we have to use capitals. For example, he is coming. So to start a sentence we have to use capital. We have to use what? Capital. To start a new sentence after a full stop also. For example, he is coming. Then if we start another sentence, then it will be also, for example, maybe she. So the first word alphabet should be capital. So the second is for all proper noun, if they are in the middle of the sentence also. For all proper noun, even if they are in the middle of even if they are also in the middle of the sentence. For proper noun, for example, Mumbai, MUMBAI, Mumbai. Mumbai is one of the biggest cities of India. So you can say that because we are to use what? If we start a sentence, then the first alphabet should be capital. For that I have written M capital. But if we find Mumbai in middle of a sentence also, then we have to use capital. Then also we have to use capital. So for all proper noun, if they are in the middle of the sentence also, we have to use what? We have to use capital. For all month, days of week, season and festival, December. So D should be capital, December, D-E-C-E-M-B-E-R, December, D-E-C-E-M-B-E-R, December. So D should be capital. If we find December at the beginning of a sentence or in the middle of a sentence, D should be capital. Then season, winter, W-I-N-T-E-R, winter. So W should be capital. W should be capital. So for month, days and festival also, for example, Deepavali or Diwali, Dashera. So what? We have to use capital. For all title of honors, offices, what? My dear sir, S should be capital. Dear madam, D should be capital, M should be capital. Doctor, D should be capital. So I hope you have understood. So this is the end of this chapter. If you find any problem while going through the video, please call me at night.